So, welcome to the Self Learning Platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 7 UN System Pacific Settlement of Disputes. And we are going to discuss the UN system, the goals, policy, and principles. The preamble to the UN Charter, the treaty instrument by which the organization was established, affirms the determination of the members of the UN to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. War is used here in the general sense of an armed conflict of large scale between states. There is also the grand affirmation in the preamble of the faith in the dignity and worth of human person. The preamble expresses the members' resolve to establish conditions under which justice and respect for international law can be maintained, and to promote a better standard of life in larger freedom. The policy to be adopted to attain these goals is stated as to practice tolerance and live as good neighbors, to unite the strength of the members to maintain international peace and security, to accept principles and institutions by which armed forces shall not be used except in common interest, and to employ international machinery for promotion of economic and social advancement of all peoples. Articles 1 and 2 state more elaborately the purpose of the organization and the principles to be followed by it. Article 1 states the purpose of the organization to be the maintenance of international peace and security, and towards that end to take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats to peace and suppression of acts of aggression or other breaches of the peace. The second part of the Article 1.1 mentions another objectives of the organization to bring about by peaceful means and in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, adjustment or settlement of international disputes which might lead to a breach of the peace. Here, 2 points may be noticed. First, maintenance of international peace and security is the prime objective of organization, and peaceful settlement of disputes is stated as an objective contributing to the prime objective. Second, the settlement of disputes must be in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, and not by way of appeasing an aggressive power by unjust and unlawful settlements. The second objective is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self determination of peoples, and to strengthen universal peace. The third objective is to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of economic, social, and cultural character, and encouraging respect for human rights. The fourth and the last objective is that UN should serve as a center for harmonizing the action of nations in the attainment of the three former objectives. The principles on which the organization should act in attaining the above purposes are stated in Article 2. First, Article 2.1 states That organization is based upon the principle of sovereign equality of all its members. Second, the principle of good faith requires that all members, in order to ensure to all of them the rights and benefits resulting from membership, should fulfill in good faith the obligation assumed by them under the Charter. Third, Article 2(3) states that members shall settle their disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. This provision prohibits recourse to non peaceful means to settle disputes. The fourth principle, a very important one, is stated in Article 2(4). It states that all the members shall refrain in their international relations from threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any manner inconsistent with the purposes of the Charter. Force here refers to physical or armed force. Political independence signifies freedom of the government of the state to reach decisions concerning the state, and this principle prohibits threat or use of force against a state to adopt any particular policy. The fifth principle, Article 2(5), requires that when the UN is taking preventative or enforcement action against any state, the members shall give every assistance to UN and shall refrain from giving any assistance to the state against which the action is being taken. The sixth principle, Article 2(6), requires that the organization shall ensure that states which are not member of the UN shall act in accordance with the previously stated five principles, so far as it may be necessary for the maintenance of international peace and security. Thus, non-members shall not be allowed by the organization or its members to plead that they, being not parties to the UN Charter, are not bound to act in accordance with it if matter concerns the maintenance of international peace and security is concerned. The seventh and the last principle states, Article 2(7), that nothing in the UN Charter shall authorize the UN to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state, or shall require the members to submit such matter to settlement under the Charter, and aids that this principle shall not prejudice the enforcement measures taken under Chapter 7 by the Security Council. This principle expressly exclude enforcement measures from the scope of the prohibition of intervention in matter of domestic jurisdiction. Furthermore, it is well known that matter of domestic jurisdiction and of international concern are at once two polar and complementary groups of concerns. With the advancement of international relations, matters of domestic jurisdiction become matters of international concern. To illustrate, if any matter comes to be governed by customary international law, by a treaty, or by a general principle of law recognized by civilized nations, it ceases to be a matter within domestic jurisdiction. How a state treats its subjects was a matter within its domestic jurisdiction in the 19th century, and with the rise human rights treaties and customary law in the 20th century, the state's treatment of its subjects violating human rights has become a matter of international concern. Here we want to wind up this lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.